A very warm welcome to the live stream from the Royal Conservatoire in The Hague. For those who are just watching us now, welcome for the first time. We've had another one before that about a very special part of our conservatoire, the School for Young Talent. But today we're going to invite people from the different departments to talk to me, talk to you therefore, and also we have lovely music in between because that's what we do. We teach and we make music. And the very, very important questions that you might have may come along as we're having this live stream. Many departments where you can perform, classical music, jazz music, early music, but there's also departments where you learn to be a teacher. They also perform, but they become teachers when they finish the school. And of course we have other departments like what we call the creative departments, and those are composition, Sonology, which is electronic music, and art science, which is multidisciplinary work, which includes sound and music. So that's a whole host of departments. I don't expect you to remember, but if anything of this interests you, keep watching. There's, of course, another reality when we come to this conservatoire. We're part of a building called Amare. Amare is not just a conservatoire, but also the home to the Symphony Orchestra of The Hague, het Residentieorkest, one of the top dance companies in the world, the Netherlands Dance Theatre. And Amare has its own programming. We are here in what we call in one of our papers, a house for all of The Hague. We want everybody, whether poor or rich, whether knowledgeable or just interested, to come here and join the adventure of music and dance with us. So it's a unique building that's only opened about a year ago. So if you come and study here, you find yourself in a unique situation, in a unique building, with also a unique challenge. How we communicate to the outside world while studying music. How do we collaborate with the orchestra and the Netherlands Dance Theatre while studying? And how do they relate to education? I frankly feel that a building like Amare is a school in itself, altogether. I feel all of society should be educated and educate each other. So in a way we are specialized as a conservatoire, but it's a mentality that we believe in that goes for everything and everyone. So you can have a little look now at a little film which shows you a little more about this wonderful Amare building.
Welcome to Amare! And here we are at our new home, the Royal Conservatoire of The Hague.
Welcome you to Amare.
This is the Wayfield Synthesis Studio, which is one of my favorite spots in Amare.
The study rooms are just amazing. It's great to practice here.
And this is my favorite room in Amare, one of the jazz drums practice rooms.
We're now at the dance studios, which is my favorite part of Amare.
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 And it also has a really good acoustic.
Actually, we can show you.
But this one's great too. Yeah, we really like it here.
Welcoming you to the Royal Conservatoire means also welcoming you to Amare, the building here at the back of me. It's the home not just to us, but also to the Symphony Orchestra, the Residentieorkest, also the Netherlands Dance Theatre, one of the best groups in the world, and a home of hundreds of performances, be it classical music, jazz, world music, what have you, conferences. And it's the connection between us, education, the working field, and the audience from all over the world.
I was always a little kid with big dreams to become a singer. To be a singer means that you need to practice.
Yes, a lot.
And we have amazing opportunities, great projects that help us develop as musicians.
To just get to know new things that we maybe never knew that existed, like operas or songs, composers even.
Composers.
And we also have the opportunity to work with young composers together
Exactly.
from the composition department,
Yeah.
where they write songs especially for us, for example. And also in our department, we are really working well together and we're supportive to each other. We sing together and it's a very good experience for all of us.
I'm Alba, I come from Spain, and I'm studying fourth year violin. The Hague is really international and the Conservatory is great. It's super open for everyone to come here to study. It's already very international. We have many people from many parts of the world.
Hi, my name is Annika and welcome to the dance department.
And we're from the Bachelor program, dance.
For me, actually the highlights of the year are just performing in general. I really like to work towards a performance, and we have a lot of them throughout the year, so I just always look forward to them the most.
So we have the Young Talent Project, and then we have studio evenings like twice a year, and then also the end of the year performances, which will be on the big stage here in Amare, which is amazing. Earlier this year, we participated in the Young Talent program, which is always an amazing experience, working together with Nederlands Danstheater.
And we're now sharing the building with them, so it's really actually inspiring to see that they're only like 3 levels below us, and sometimes in the corridors you could see them walk past, and it's kind of inspiring to see like professional dancers and in the same building.
And this is the Sonology department. Came here because I was really intrigued by the way how the department marries composition and electronic music.
And also I think it's very nice to be among such an active community of musicians where people come from very diverse backgrounds.
And also because it has such a rich history in electroacoustic music. Sonology is the study of sound. To study sound, we use various means. Analog equipment, digital environments like coding and working with artificial intelligence, field recording practices, improvisation, working with multi-channel setups. Sonology is quite technical, but in the end it's the art that matters and the music. All the classrooms and studios are very pleasant to work in. We used to be in the basement, now we're on the 6th floor. We have daylight, we have big windows, light that can be dimmed.
Very nice. It's very dry, which is nice, and also the acoustic panels that are placed on the walls, and it's a nice small room. It's very clean, and it's a great space.
It's really nice.
It's really nice to be here.
Thanks.
Amare is a really special place. We have all the cultural things in one, where we have everything you can imagine, from an orchestra to a dance theater, and of course also our Conservatoire, which is the top floors with the best view.
In the middle of Amare, there is this column. There's escalators all the way from the ground floor up to the 4th floor, and then there's the Conservatoire, where we're now. And there's stairs all the way to the 6th floor, the top floor, and above it you see this lovely skylight. In walking up, you see the architectural shapes. It feels wonderful. And if you ask me what is my favorite part of the building, this is my favorite part of the building. Also because it connects all the floors, all the inhabitants, all the students, all the teachers, and the audience.
You can find the art of sound, jazz department, percussion department, classical department, classical singing department.
Contemporary dance, but also classical dance.
Recording, producing,
Music theory,
and sound reinforcement.
sound engineering, the colloquium where people's research is being discussed.
You have so many possibilities. You are very welcome to come, maybe next year.
Hope to see you soon.
I think that gave you a taste of the building, Amare, and what it means. Very, very important. We're very happy to be here, proud to be here, but it also comes with a bit of a responsibility, I think. The 2 singing students that were presenting some of that film made it look like just fun, but it's also hard work. We're not just happy, but we're also ambitious. I think to link those two, that's what we're for. We also, in Amare, of course, connected to the rest of our surroundings, the city of The Hague. Very interesting city, right at the sea, and have a little look at how this city can be the home of such a wonderful place like Amare and the Royal Conservatoire. Have a look.
Welcome to The Hague, the city of peace and justice. You made the right decision. You chose The Hague.
Den Haag is een van Nederlands snelst groeiende studentensteden. En wij gaan je rondleiden langs alle plekken in Den Haag die jij gezien moet hebben.
We would like to share our experiences with you by letting you explore the beaches, the nightlife, the city and the best places to go.
In Den Haag start jouw studentenleven. Hier ontmoet je je vrienden, maak je leuke momenten mee en start je jouw carrière, misschien een toekomst.
Are you ready? Let's get started.
So after show you something of Amare, zooming out to the city of The Hague, we're zooming right back in now. One of our biggest departments, the biggest department in fact, is the classical music department. And with me at the table are 4 people representing that department. From my right, your left, will be Marlon Dietre, who's the head of the department. Next to him is Elena Valentin, flute teacher. Then on my left, your right, is Susanne Konings, who's actually the head of the theory department. Of course, they are everywhere, but also at the classical music department. And a student, Cecilia van Berkem, she's a Master 2 violin student, is that right?
Yes.
I'd like to start with you. So you are a student, you've been here for how many years?
1.5 years.
1.5 years.
Yeah.
So, and now currently studying master. How would you characterize the Conservatoire to someone who has never been here?
I think it's a very international school, and it also is quite big. We have a lot of different departments and yeah, a lot of possibilities for me.
Yeah.
There's so many good teachers and yeah.
So you find yourself there, but in the end you're working on your own personal development. What are your expectations for yourself when you go away from here?
I would like to work partly in an orchestra, and the other half I would like to do my own projects and play chamber music and yeah, create my own projects and concerts.
Great, and I think that's a reality for many students and many alumni. They were maybe in an ensemble or an orchestra part of the time, but will be part of short-scale, short-time projects to really be creative as well, and not just be part of a big group. Marlon, of course you get that question all the time from students or prospective students. What can they expect from a classical music department, and how is the program composed?
Well, when you come and study here in the classical music department, you can expect to become a musician, but also a professional. It's what Cecilia says, there are all these wonderful teachers who help you on your way. But we also have this big network of partners here in Amare, outside of Amare, and they really complement the program in a way that you get a feeling of, you know, what is professional life going to be like? Bachelor students have a program that's composed of main subject lessons, chamber music, wonderful theory program, professional orientation. And when we progress to the master phase, it's much more about what exactly would you like to develop? What's your artistic plan? And we support you in setting that up in a way that can really easily feed into professional life.
So the bachelor has a wide orientation with those 3 elements, right? Art, professional integration, and being reflective about what you are, who you are. And then at master you don't get the chance to specialize in who you want to become and spend a lot of time on that, again, with research and with professional practice. You're in the midst of that, aren't you? Okay, good luck. Next to me is the flute teacher, Elena Valentin. So a lovely department, a lovely section, the flute section, but not the only one for sure. And you're a professional musician. You perform and then you teach here. Can you tell a little bit how that relate to each other, to be a performer, an artist, and to be a teacher?
Of course. Well, what we do here is to train young talents or young musicians to have the capabilities to make a life professionally as musicians. But how can we do that if we don't have a connection to that world that we are training, that, you know, sending them to? So I think having an active role as a performer, whether it is as a soloist, chamber musician, as a director, or any other creative role, I feel that gives one more realistic view on that very world that we're sending our students to.
A little bit about that world, because that world has changed a lot over the last 10, 20 years. So do you see any changes or trends in that musical life outside the conservatoire that should impact the teaching we do?
Absolutely. I think if we don't move forward, we don't just stand still, but we fall behind. I feel it's so important to embrace the changes that are happening. Pandemic, for example, with all the digitalization, showed us that. We all had to so swiftly learn about Zoom, the microphones. As performers, we had to learn about live streaming, the concerts. And I feel, of course, it wasn't easy, but we did it. But those who couldn't embrace those changes just couldn't stay in the profession.
Yeah. And what students that leave the school after being taught by you, you'd be proud of? What kind of career would you look forward to having them?
I think it's less so career. I think I would be proud of them if they are on the right way to become the best possible version of themselves.
So that's not just musical, it's also personal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm moving over to Susanna Konings here, because the classical music department has developed quite a lot of chamber music practice over the last years. And it's a wonderful form of music making. We all know the orchestras, there's a conductor who tells you what to do. But chamber music, you have to somehow, it's democratic. You have to somehow deal with each other. And you are all in the driving seat from time to time within playing together. So it helps you to listen, to collaborate, all these wonderful, character traits that one might want to learn in the conservatoire. But there's another element, is what exactly do we play? And I believe that the theory department has been very interested in really being a partner in this development of the chamber music. And can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes, and it's so interesting also what you are saying, connecting to this professional world where playing together and taking your role as being active in that and not waiting for somebody else to tell you what to do. I think it's very important part of the 6 years that you can actually spend in this institution. And from the theory department, we believe that in other classes we kind of develop those skills to be able to listen carefully, to understand what somebody else is playing, that actually you get your information about what to play from your fellow students. Also, of course, from scores. So I think theory very nicely integrates all those skills that you feel more independent as a musician, and also to be able then later to create your own projects.
Yeah. I believe that is a goal for all the students that we have in this house, to be self-reliant, independent, and also resilient to very difficult times you might enter, but you have something that you may need in life, to be a person who can listen and collaborate, and to be a great musician. We're going to listen to a few of them. I'm going to walk over to a string quartet. They're called, do they have a name? Do you guys have a name as a quartet? I'm wondering. I'm coming over to you just to say, what's the name of your quartet? You can tell. Consonant quartet. But you'll be playing the opposite now. You're going to play a little bit of the dissonance quartet. You have to say the name again, because otherwise nobody can hear it.
Consonant quartet.
The consonant quartet are now going to play something by Mozart, the dissonance quartet. These are 4 students. They happen to come from Spain, all of them. Makes rehearsal really easy. You know what to speak. But most of us speak English to each other. You never speak English to each other? Only when there's strangers around, right? Okay. And you are all master students, if I'm correct? And you are a real fresh string quartet, only in existence since September. So early days. You know, the best string quartets, they go on for decades. Do you see yourself going on for decades? I hope so. But most important is that you have fun while doing it. And I hope you're going to enjoy playing yourselves. We're going to listen to you playing the dissonance quartet of Mozart. Good luck. Dat was het consonantskwartet. Er zijn natuurlijk ook 4 individuen, die ga ik even noemen. Gustavo Abel, eerste viool. Anna Tanzova op de tweede viool, sorry. Fernando Perez op de altviool en Antonio Dorado op de cello. Dank jullie wel. Thank you very much. We're going to change to the education department now. Another crucial department, but they're all crucial. However, education is a very, very special backbone of the whole institution. We have a teacher training, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that program at the table now. And I have here around the table with me Jeremy Garcia Avila, is sitting over there, head of the department Margie Kirschman, and head of the teacher training program Suzanne Overmeer, and one of the students, Lonneke de Jong. So Jeremiah and Lonneke are the students, they are the future, and here's the practice right on the left and the right of me of the department. We're going to turn to Dutch because this is a department where most people come from the Netherlands, and why? Because they will have to find a place to work in the Dutch educational system. So, tell us first in English one sentence, and then we turn to Dutch. What characterize the education department? Because we also have English language courses.
Of course.
So tell us.
So what is really special about our department is we have a very nice mix of students coming from different musical backgrounds, pop, jazz, classical, world music. And a few things about the department, besides the regular 4-year program, we also have an abridged program of 2 years for people who already have a bachelor in music, and they also get their full qualification to teach in schools. And I would like to mention for people who are interested in doing a master in education, we have a whole new master program called the Musician Educator, in which you develop a high level as both a teacher and a performer. And I wanted to mention that of course, is in English and not in Dutch.
Okay. How many students in all in the education department?
About 65, I would say.
Okay. If I can now, I'm looking into the camera to prospective students. We can use more students for the educational department because it's such a wonderful, of course, subject to teach and to learn, but also our society needs music teachers more than anything else, I believe. Much more of those than of bankers or soldiers or anything. So become a music teacher if you think that you can do that and come here to learn it. On my other side is iemand die helemaal verantwoordelijk is voor de afdeling docent muziek van de school. En Suzanne, wat voor werk kunnen die studenten als ze hier weggaan allemaal tegemoet zien?
Nou, de opleiding docent muziek leidt op tot docent muziek. Het woord zegt het natuurlijk al, de focus ligt heel erg op het werken met groepen. De studenten kunnen eigenlijk in heel veel werkvelden terecht. Ze worden opgeleid om bijvoorbeeld les te geven op de basisschool, maar ook met groepen buitenschools, middelbaar onderwijs. En wij besteden eigenlijk in de opleiding heel veel aandacht aan vakken die opleiden tot docentschap, maar ook vakken die opleiden tot musicus zijn. Want onze visie is echt, je staat als musicus voor de klas. Voor welke groep, voor welk individu je ook staat, je vertrekt vanuit je muzikantschap. En dat betekent dat we in de opleiding veel aandacht hebben voor het instrument waar je op binnenkomt. Dat kan van alles zijn, klassiek, viool, lichtzang, jazz, piano. Maar ook voor koorzang. Je leert piano spelen, zingen, drummen, gitaar spelen. Omdat je eigenlijk van alle markten thuis moet zijn. En daarnaast hebben we vakken die gaan over het onderwijs. Dus hoe geef je les? Muziek, methodiek, didactiek, onderwijspedagogiek. Dat gaat over voor welke groep sta ik nou eigenlijk. En we lopen heel veel stage.
Ik denk dat het wel de meest veelzijdige opleiding is van het Koninklijk Conservatorium, als ik het zo hoor.
Ik weet het wel zeker eigenlijk, ja.
Dus heel boeiend. Nou ja, er zitten ook 2 mensen die dat aan de lijve elke dag ondervinden. Lonneke, kun je me iets vertellen over het werk van de muziekcenten, over datgene wat je hier doet en hoe je dat bevalt? Waarom ben je naar het KC gegaan eigenlijk?
Waarom ik hierheen ben gegaan? Nou, dat komt eigenlijk door de Case. Dat is een voorstelling die we elk jaar doen.
Ja, elk jaar gaat de hele afdeling docent muziek op de planken staan. Ja. En dat heet The Case. Ja. Het is een lang verhaal. Het is genoemd naar een voormalige directeur van dat conservatorium hier, Kees van Baren. Want een zaal die naar hem genoemd was. En daar wordt elk jaar, maar nog steeds hier, maar met dezelfde naam, The Case opgevoerd. En dat had je gezien?
Ja, dat had ik gezien. Ik studeerde eerst iets anders. Toen zag ik de show en toen dacht ik, hier moet ik gewoon bij horen. Dus toen ben ik toelating gaan doen. En toen
wat leuk.
Ja.
En nou, je zit nu, welk jaar zit je?
In mijn laatste jaar, mijn 4e jaar.
Spannend?
Nou, niet zo. Nee, het is wel leuk.
Ja. Nou, je kan heel goed praten, maar je kan ook heel goed zingen. Daar gaan we zo wat meer van horen.
Ja.
Dus dat is ook een goed voorbeeld van iets wat dan mensen later, als ze hier op bezoek gaan naar de Case, die zijn er misschien ook. Kijk op onze website daarvoor, wanneer dat precies is. En dan kunnen ze dat horen. Misschien raken ze net zo geïnspireerd als jij nu. Dat ze denken, nou, als ik dit zo hoor, dan wil ik daarbij horen. Jeremy, jij zit hier nog maar in het begin van je studie, eerste jaar, hè?
Ja, ik zit in het begin van deze studie nog. Ja. En net begonnen.
En hoe vind je het tot nu toe?
Tot nu toe, ik heb echt heel naar mijn zin hier, naar deze school. Ik voel al een soort van goede band met iedereen die op deze school zit. En ook niet alleen dat, maar ook al de stages die ik loop. Dat zei Suzanne ook een beetje, dat we heel veel stage loopt. En ik vind dat echt gewoon het fantastische gedeelte van de school om even naar buiten te kijken. En gewoon in de werkveld te zitten.
Meteen aan de slag, hè?
Meteen aan de slag.
Heel praktisch.
Ja, heel praktisch. Ja. Dat hou ik meer van.
Ja. En dan leer je hier op het conservatorium in de lessen, zou ik maar zeggen, hoe je die praktijk eigenlijk steeds maar beter kan maken.
Ja,
hè?
Klopt.
Nou, ik hoop dat jij een hele fijne tijd nog hebt de komende 3,5 jaar. En dan zien we jou graag overal terug als een begenadigde docent muziek.
Zeker weten.
En ik weet wel zeker dat het gaat gebeuren.
Het gaat zeker gebeuren.
Lonneke, je hebt een nummer geschreven. Je kan ook zingen. Ja. En daar gaan we nu naar luisteren. Hè? Dus verderop is er een opstelling waar de band staat. Ik zeg even wie er nog meer met je meespeelt. Veel plezier, we gaan ervan genieten. Lonneke doet de leadzang en speelt ook nog gitaar. Rick Klein speelt de basgitaar. Lennart Derksen de drums. En dan hebben we nog 4 backing vocals. En dat zijn Pepijn Groenendaal, Wilmer Arnoudsen, Ruby Mulderij en Britt van Zanten. Veel succes, jongens.
Denk in oneindig, waar begint het begin? Hoe te omschrijven in een allesomvattende zin? Een afscheid is ook maar wat je het maakt. Heb je alles gezegd voordat de hemel je raakt? Ik weet nog hoe. Ik weet nog hoe.
draag je de aarde tegen de hemel aan. Zou jij me wijzen op het tegenovergestelde van een mens? Ik weet niet hoe goed jij me kent. Ik weet niet hoe goed jij me kent. Maar ik weet nog hoe. Ik weet nog hoe. Ik weet nog hoe. Ik weet nog hoe. Ik ben amper veranderd en het is later, we zijn verwaterd. Ik weet nog Ik weet nog Ik weet nog Ik weet nog
Geef jij een teken? Oké, vanuit een liedje van Vandaag de Dag gaan we strakjes naar een gesprek. Ik denk zo'n 250 jaar terug in de tijd. After a song just written recently. Thank you very much, Lonneke, for this lovely song. And thank you guys for performing. Students from the Educational Department. We're going to go back in time. Some 250 years, I think, later on. But first we're going to talk to some people that are inhabiting our wonderful early music department. I'll introduce them. Teunis de Zwart is the head of the department. And then Enrico Corden, you are a Traverse student in your master's second year, so soon to be gone, but still here. And Joao Ferreira Miranda de Santos, a long name, I'm going to call you Joao, if you don't mind, teacher of critical music studies. We talk a little bit about that too. And Maggie Urquhart, and she's a teacher of the violone. It's the early music double bass, we would say. I'd like to stick with you, Joao, critical music studies. What do we understand this term to be?
Well, in the theory for early music, we try to offer the students the skills and knowledge that allow the students to actually think and play music how musicians did it in the past. So this is one of the subjects where the students get access to the thinking tools and practical tools that they really need to start engaging with musical making practices of the past, for example.
Can you mention some of those practical tools?
Yes. So, for example, we know that musicians, let's say 16th, 17th, 18th, even 19th century, they would not only just perform music, but they would compose, they would improvise. And these are things that we're more than ready to offer our students nowadays, these historical techniques of composition, improvisation, but also about even how they learned the basics of music. So even historical solfège, we are able to do that, but historical counterpoint, which is really practical on the keyboard and not even, we don't start with writing, which is, for example, how they did it in the past. So, or even singing counterpoint instead of writing counterpoint first, which we also have, by the way, too. So there are some things are of course similar, but the more you look at the sources about how they learned music, how they rehearsed music, how they practiced music, we learned that there were considerable differences, and our courses are really devoted for this. So there are 3 or 4 courses which are the basic courses, and then they can ramify into electives, where they can go in more depth and more specificity about specific subjects. So yeah, as a general remark, it's a very practically based course. We still call it theory, but there's a bit of theory in it, but it's really on hands-on approach.
It's fascinating, and it sounds, if you just sum it up, it sounds a bit complicated. But if I understand it correctly, is that by doing all that in your class, but also in your whole curriculum, and studying here, it's actually a form of playfulness. You are able not just to read and play music, but also to be playful with, which is the practice of those days, with the notes in front of you.
Yeah.
And so they all become a little bit like individual artistic players rather than representing a score completely, like it's done in the 19th century.
I think that's
okay. That's great.
Very good description indeed.
So, and then we have Maggie, who's been a teacher with us for many years. You've also been a member of and still are a member of the orchestra of the 18th century. Yeah. And over the last, I think, 10 years, you've been playing side by side with your students in that particular project. I bet you play side by side with them in the classroom as well from time to time, but this is a very special thing. Describe me something about this yearly highlight, actually, of the the year of the department.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a highlight, I think, for the students each year, because we're working individually with the students usually, sometimes in small groups, especially with the violone, which is an instrument which is quite often a supporting role, playing in an orchestra. It's the early music version of the double bass or of a large cello. This is an instrument, really is not a solo instrument, although we have to play that for exams. So this opportunity to play alongside professionals in an orchestra is fantastic each year.
So, and you've experienced that. And I think over the years that this project has been there, do you see anything growing from it? Each year maybe there'll be different students come and go, but I think the project itself also goes under, and the orchestra itself, things are also developing.
That's absolutely true. Our orchestra began with Frans Bruggen, with a group of friends, and was a very stable group, a family on tour. The problem with that is at a certain point, people become older and have to move on. And what we've seen with the side-by-side from 10 years ago until now, that sometimes certain people in the orchestra, in the side-by-side project stand out, and we think we'd like to try those in our orchestra. And some of them, we can think of Sophie Vidal, who recently led a project here with the Dea and OR. Actually have joined our orchestra, and she was even in the concertmaster role. So we have the opportunity as members of the 18th century to see how people function in an orchestral situation with a different conductor while we're playing alongside them, and to see if they're people that would fit into our family on tour.
And that's, of course, a wonderful next step for some of the students. You describing, and actually the side-by-side describes the musical practice of how to learn music in a time when we didn't have conservatoires yet. So what is early music doing in a conservatoire, Tönus?
That's a very good question, of course. Yeah, we relate to practices of the past. I think that is our role in the Conservatoire. And that's also why I see the early music department as a kind of an island in the Conservatoire with many connections to the different departments. So we're a unique kind of source of information, source of knowledge. And we're always happy to receive people also from other departments to share that knowledge with and share the experiences with.
Because I think you have a particular knowledge of course, the musical practices of, let's say, 16th, 17th, 18th century music and into the 19th century, but also that adventurism, that playfulness that really comes with the practice of music before the Paris Conservatoire was even started. And I think that adventurous character that the department characterizes is also helpful to the other departments, even if they're not particularly zooming in on early music. They can sense something of that mentality.
And let's not forget the inquisitive attitude that we have in the department. That has become so important also for the rest of musical life, I think.
Yeah. Which brings me to you, Enrico. You are now close to finishing your Master 2. We have the Master course now that has 3 pillars, the artistic development in the middle, but right next to it, I would say, is reflection, research, and on the other side, professional integration, so that you learn how to be a professional musician. How does that work in your case?
Well, in my case, I would say it worked wonderfully because I've been very interested in research myself and, of course, in playing. Let's say that before coming here, I felt maybe that the more entrepreneurial aspect of the 21st century musician's life was missing in my case. But thanks to the curriculum, now I feel really like I want to integrate that in my professional life. And that's especially because of the coherence, I would say, of the program, the coherence that you mentioned, because we can really somehow create our own master. We can have our own idea, our own project, and then the teachers just help us to develop it in the three domains, in the three directions. So my Traverso teachers help me with the technical and interpretation aspects of the music I wanted to play, while my supervisor helped me to find more sources related to what I wanted to do. And my professional integration coach helped me to bring that out of school and of the practice room, which I think in general gives such a complete and holistic, in a way, idea of a 21st century musician. Because indeed we have this strong early music island and early music education. So we come out as a bit of a 18th century mentality people, and yet we are in the 21st century. So I think it's very good that we have the opportunity to live in the present as well.
Yeah, you're pointing to several very important things. The integration, which then I would call to become a complete musician. And in choosing your own path in this master course, you also become, maybe it sounds a little glib, but you become the best version of yourself. Because again, it's the personal and the technical and societal that needs to come together to be, you know, a happy musician, I would say. So thank you very much, and wish you good luck to the final months of your course here. Any plans after that?
Yes, well, now I'm working for a doctorate proposal. I would like to go on, since, as I mentioned, I'm very interested in research. So I would like to go further with a doctorate in artistic research, so in practical performance practice aspects.
And would you do that through the Doc Artist program?
Well, now I'm considering that, and also other schools, other programs, of course.
So it's good to mention that, you know, there's, of course, different places where one can be a doctorate, but we are happy to be connected to the University of Leiden, where we have our own Doc Artist program for musicians who will then become a doctor, do a PhD in the particular subject, which makes the research development even deeper or higher, whatever you call it. And often those people who finish their studies, they come back here and work with our students. So it's really a pathway from bachelor to master to PhD that we're so happy with. And I think particularly the early music department knows very well what those three levels can mean to being a musician. Tones, for one, is very close to finishing a PhD, so that's a very...
Like Maggie, by the way.
Maggie as well, so there's some very...
Both with Doc Artists.
The whole team.
So I'm sharing the table with three very clever people and one to become. And so we're going to listen to some music, because that in the end is, of course, the proof of the pudding. And Maciej is already sitting behind the harpsichord. I'm going to walk towards him so you can meet him. Thank you, and thank you. I forgot something very important, so Maciej can be heard. Maciej, hello. You're going to play a little bit for us. Just tell me, first of all, which year are you studying the harpsichords?
Third year.
Third year bachelor, okay. And where are you from?
From Poland.
From Poland. And so what are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play two Scarlatti sonatas in E major, K162 and 163.
You thought stick to the same key is maybe the best thing.
Yeah.
Okay, good luck, and we're going to enjoy that. How many minutes do you think these two sonatas are? Just for someone who's listening or looking in, so...
Around 5 minutes.
5 minutes only, so two short pieces. Okay, good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
playing 2 short Scarlatti sonatas for us on the harpsichord. Wonderful. We're finding ourselves here in the Conservatoire hall. Normally this is a concert hall, but today it is a studio. So we have a talk show setting here and various performances on the parts of the floor. And there's a balcony around, and from time to time a whole group of people come in to have a look at what's going on here. Great. And there's hopefully people at home or later watching this stream. And this is to get to know the Conservatoire and its various departments. Now comes the time for the vocal department. So I've got with me at the table Monica Damen, who's the head of that department, and Magdalena Michalko, who's actually one of our foremost singing students. Which year are you in?
I'm in the 4th year of my bachelor studies now.
And so you can look back at 4 years, some of which were in COVID time, and some of them were in the new building. So describe me that journey.
Yeah, it was quite a journey, as you say. I started in the old building, which was already mind-blowing for me to just be in a school surrounded by so many musicians and so many people that have the same intentions. And then, we moved to the new building, and it was even more impressive. All these open windows and the nice view and everything. And musically, I feel like I really developed a lot in these 4 years. I had so many different possibilities. Yeah. And I did like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I did the solo in a Bach project together with the New York School.
The Juilliard School.
The Juilliard
That was
exactly.
Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Israeliten in the Wüste, and which was quite special for me because I'm studying in the classical department of the vocal department, so not the early music department. So it was something completely new for me, something to explore, and it gave me a lot of fun and joy, and I enjoyed the repertoire. And of course, I have my regular studies with my teachers where I'm exploring lied and arias and opera. And I also participated in the Spring Festival from the composers, where I did something completely different about words and more speaking and using my voice in a different way, which was also very interesting for me to see the huge difference I can use my voice in, actually.
Yeah. So that may be something special for the Royal Conservatoire, that you can find yourself in an early music department project, which was wonderful. Actually, that's the first time I've heard you. I was impressed. I thought,
really?
who's this student, I thought. And then you also, at the other end of the scale, something that's just been written, that you actually can bridge all these centuries with the voice. And I think the voice is special that way. Of course, we used to have a particular early music singing department, but now they mix more and more. Because in the end, you are a good singer or you're not a good singer, right? And I think you're a good singer. So Monica, so when we look at this early music, we have singing, in the classical form, there's contemporary vocal studies. So can you describe us the character traits of the vocal department in the Conservatoire?
I think this is one of the most important things of our vocal department, I think, because although we have official classical singers and early music singers, long ago already we decided that that is not the situation anymore in the professional world, in a way. 40 years ago, everybody thought that there was a big difference between a singer that was singing Bach and a singer that was singing Verdi. And now we think that it's a style you have to learn. And of course you have to be good in that, because singing Bach like Verdi is not accepted, also not nowadays. But we try to give our students all the possibilities to explore the possibilities of their own voice, and that they don't feel I'm in a kind of box. I'm classical singing, so I can't do other things, or I'm early music singer and I can't do that. And we have different kind of teachers, of course. We have the teachers that are really into opera. We have the teachers that combine, for instance, contemporary music and also early music and opera and almost everything. We have early music specialists, and what we do is we try to find the best combination between student and teachers. And it is very important, and that is what we realize in the department, that all the teachers know each other. They know what they are doing, they're talking with each other, they know that some of their students will also have a different teacher, for instance, an early music specialist. And anyhow, what we do and what is in the DNA of our department is you come in You can ask for a certain teacher, or if you don't, we give you a certain teacher. But at the end of every year, we ask all the students, do you want to change teacher? And do you want to change your coach pianist, for instance? And that is a possibility. And if yes, then you have to discuss it with your present teacher. You have to discuss it with the teacher you want to have. And we even have the possibility that you can have 2 teachers. And that is, we think that is really important, because we think it's the student that has to decide, in a way, what is it what I want to study here? Who is it who I want to work with? And if you work 2 years with a teacher, you can say, it's time that I find another teacher, because I want to do some things that are not the thing that my present teacher is teaching me, for instance.
I think this is a theme that comes back in other departments' talks we had today, is that we'd like the students to become the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And this could be something we don't know quite ahead of time. They will come to the school and develop in a certain way. And I think the singing department is special in the way that there is really a team teaching mentality, not only mentality, a practice. So all the teachers in a way are the teachers of all the students, even though there's pathways that can be quite individual. And I think particularly when it comes to singing, that is a rare quality in the department, that students can go to different people and all the students will know all the teachers and vice versa. And therefore there's a communal feeling about this department that I think is very, very unique. So something to think about. Now, what's your next step? You're going to graduate as a bachelor, hopefully successfully, and then what?
Then I'm right now in the process of applying for masters, and I found myself with a lot of opportunities in Germany, in Austria, in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So,
again, a good
exciting.
example. A good example of a young talent like you to make their own pathway through the world of music and the world at large. So, lots of fun. We're going to listen to you singing. That's really. I'm going to walk with you to your colleague who's sitting behind the piano. So let's walk there.
Am I joining you?
Nee, je mag blijven. Shin Aiho, are you a student in this conservatoire?
Still a student in the conservatory. I'm bachelor 3rd year.
Bachelor 3rd year of the piano.
Yes.
And what makes you now being able to accompany a singer?
You mean today?
Yes, right now. No, in general, and today.
For today, I think they have a clash in the schedule or something, so they need a pianist, and thankfully, some teachers recommend me, so I'm here for today.
Great, because playing the piano, studying the piano can be a lonely affair. A lot of time you and the piano. And so it's very good you have an opportunity to work with a singer or maybe with other instruments. Is that what you're doing here as well?
Yes, actually my biggest passion is here, is playing with other people. Yeah, for me, piano solo is of course very beautiful and have a lot of solo pieces, but I think there are a lot of underrated parts from the ensemble parts of piano. And I would really love to develop more in that part.
Okay. So maybe as Magdalena leaving the school, maybe then at some point you'll play again with her in the future.
Definitely.
Yes. Okay, we're now going to listen to you guys. And it's going to be an aria and a recitative and an aria from the Nozze di Figaro of Mozart, the Susanna part, Non Vien. Enjoy.
Susanna non viene, sono ansiosa di saper come il conte accolse la proposta, e quanto ritito il progetto mi par, e ad uno sposo si vivace e geloso.
Thank you, Magdalena and Shen Oi at the piano for singing this aria. Well, we're going on with our journey through the departments, and from a composition written 237 years ago, we go to now. There's music being made right now, all the time. And one of the departments that represents that is the Department of Sonology. For some, it is the other name for electroacoustic music. And at the table here for me is some students and head of the department. I will just introduce you. And there's Farzaneh, there is Agit, there's Kees, who's the head of the department, and there's Serena. And they're all having things to say about this unique department. Farzaneh, I'd like to start with you, because you studied also in our previous building, at the Juliana van Stolberglaan. There's no more, you don't have to say that name ever again. And there was quite a difference, I would imagine. The circumstances and there and here. Can you explain a little bit how that works for you in your own work, your own development as a student, as an artist?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing that I can mention is how the studios were improved and changed so much, and the equipment and the facilities. So that was great, of course. But also, I feel like here the aspect of collaboration, maybe reaches to a higher level because we're in constant communication with the other departments, maybe a bit more than the previous building, I would say.
And also the building gives opportunities. There are other spaces that are not from the Conservatoire. You yourself were involved in something that took part in the public space, very interesting. And so an improvement, I would say.
Yes.
And now you're going to leave us after this year, is that so? What are your plans?
If everything goes well.
Yeah.
I probably will continue artistic research, probably a PhD, or otherwise I would figure out the residence situation with an artist visa, and then continue the artistic research and practice.
I think that's actually quite normal for students from Sonology, that they keep on learning, keep on researching. It's actually in the blood of the discipline, I would think. Serena, you are now in the second year of the Bachelor of Music in Sonology. And how do you find the balance between, it's a very technical study on the one hand, there's maths involved, there's a lot of technical elements, and there's of course the artistic thing of making music and having vision sometimes. Nothing related to technology that somehow has to find a way to meet. How does that work for you, and how does that work in the study?
Well, at first I was indeed a bit intimidated by a lot of technical subjects, but I very fastly realized how the approach or the focus of the classes are actually very much on our artistic practice, and we learn a lot of techniques, but it's like the focus is actually always on how we apply that and how we use it for ourselves. And also our teachers are all also musicians or artists, and we have a lot the focus on our own practice.
So, and there are group classes, of course, but there's also individual classes. How does that mix work for you?
Well, I think, for me, it's very important to have the time to work on my own things, but it's also very important to share it, and it's nice to have these small classes, because we already know each other, and it's always valuable to share what we are working on. So I really appreciate as well the group classes. Yeah.
I believe you can look at a little film now, because we're going to continue this conversation, but there's something to show you about the Sonology Voltage Control Studio. But Kees, could you say what this is, or is that in the film?
Well, the film is just a teaser. You see some images and you hear some sound. But the Voltage Control Studio is a very special studio because not only is it a completely analog studio, which quite unexpectedly in the last decade has an enormously increased interest among students, whereas in the decade before it was all about digital technology. But that studio also represents the history of Sonology, because many pieces of equipment that you find in that studio were already in the studios when Sonology was still in Utrecht at the university.
So let's have a look at that little clip just to get an impression of that Sonology Voltage Control Studio. Here you can see this little clip, you know, that analog machinery, things that are looking historical are actually, I don't want to sound too glib, but are cool again. And this is also what we find ourselves, all of the departments, we find ourselves in the exciting place between the past and the future, and that's the now. And I think a new study, relatively new compared to early music, Sonology, already have its own history. And I think that's an important thing for any institution like ours, that we cannot ignore the history if we want to move forward. But there's still enough place for experimentation, for things unheard of, but they all root in the past. So, Agit, you're with us for the one-year Sonology course, right? Yes. And that's a course where people come from all over the place, very different backgrounds, to specialize in this particular discipline for 1 year. You have already quite some studies behind you in Latvia, Estonia, and Berlin. Gosh, are you somehow collecting diplomas, or what is it?
Actually, I was also in Belgium, in Liège. You know, also.
I have to add this to the list. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I think because I started, and before I started composition, I was in leather design, making leather things, and then I realized, no, I want to go back to something that I want to compose. And then I think my road was very long to Sonology, because I was looking for something that actually fits for me. But I went through a lot of history and classical things. And I would say that here I feel finally like everything fits, because I can. I think that it's very high level of teaching stuff, high educational level, and all the teachers are giving. I think every possible thing that I was looking for, and that's something that I never experienced before in other universities. And here, I think every teacher is really deep into their subject, and and the community is also very nice here. It helps to work with your own projects.
So there seems to be a fit.
It seems to.
I think we're happy with you, with such a background, with many experiences as a student, which indeed feeds into us as well. And you're happy to be in a place where finally you can make some connection that you didn't find before.
Yes, because I was mostly in contemporary music, like not I wouldn't say classical, but contemporary acoustic music department, and I was always like this black bird.
Something was missing.
Something's missing, and something is wrong with me. And so now everything's fine with me.
Maybe an indecent question almost. Now you do the 1 year of Sonology, and a lot of things seem to fall into place.
Yeah.
Are you going to stop studying now?
That's actually, again, tricky question, because I want to keep studying, and I want to keep being in Sonology. That's,
Well, I think there are.
But I hope that would be my last educational place.
But that opportunity is there. Very often people who do a 1 year course then decide to go on for a master's or even a bachelor's, depending on their own background. And it's not unlike what we just discussed at the early music department. Many of the people who study here become artists that keep on learning. And I think that's the DNA of making art also, is that keep on learning, keep on developing, keep on experimenting. And I think this department is a very good example of it. Kees, you are in a way the lifeline historically of this institute, because you've even studied in Utrecht, where
yes,
Institute of
I started, yeah.
So that's, you know, you're almost like a symbol. And then the Utrecht faculty moved to The Hague. Then you became a student of composition in The Hague.
Yeah.
And then you were a teacher.
Yeah.
Now you're a head. I don't think it can get any higher.
No,
so
well,
where's
your position is already filled. So.
But anyway, you can describe a little bit the recent history of this discipline all the way from 81 to now.
Yeah.
And can you just sum it up? It may be hard, but can you sum up one of the key developments in the discipline of sonology?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, sonology, I mean, you say a discipline, certainly it's not a genre, you know, it's not a style in music. I mean, so already in Utrecht, sonology was a kind of umbrella for music based on field recordings, computer-assisted instrumental composition, experiments with digital sound synthesis already in the 70s. So this kind of variety of disciplines, variety in the background of the people who were teaching there and who were studying there was already there from the beginning. And this is something that even the teachers now who have never set foot in that institute in Utrecht still identify themselves with. And that I find a very interesting way of dealing with history, that it is not something that you hold on to because you don't know where to go, but because it is some kind of foundation on the basis of which you can look into the future. It moved to The Hague in '86, then came the bachelors, a little bit later also the masters. The funny thing now in Amare is that for the very first time, sonology is in the building where in the design of the building, their studios have been taken into account. So, you know, in Utrecht it was a former bank building from a bank office from the 1920s. In the former building we came when it was already there from 6 years, so people had to invent studios at former parking spaces and so on. And now in the design of this building, I mean, you know how we were all involved in that. The studios are really fantastic. They're all on the same floor, the acoustics are perfect. It's just a dream come true, and something that, especially for me, with this long history in sonology, I also feel really, you know, a kind of depth to the people who are teaching me in the 80s. And they have all seen this move to Amare, and they were all extremely happy with that. So it's,
and also being in this building. Just recently, we are in this building, and I've said it before, with the Netherlands Dance Theatre and the Residency Orchestra. And just now this spring, there will be a big workshop that the NDT2 dancers, the younger group of the NDT company, Netherlands Dance Theatre, is going to have a collaborative work together with maybe musicians or visual artists, and they have chosen a couple of students from the sonology department to collaborate with. Now there is a plus from being around here.
Oh, absolutely.
Sonology department has a real proper, honorable place within the Conservatoire building, but also is able to collaborate with dancers, because in the end, electronic music has a wide variety, and we can find it all here, of possibilities. And therefore, you students have a wide variety of opportunities to becoming the best artist you can possibly be. So that's important. We have a little film about the background of the sonology department, so let's have a look. It's a film about 3.5 minutes, so get to know them a little better.
Sonology for me is the exploration of sound, the idea of sound, and how to apply it into different art forms, I guess.
The first approach to sound can be mainly technical, but the goal of everything we do is always musical. That can be approached in many different ways, from live performances to algorithmic composition to using analog synthesizers in a studio and to compose what you can create on a computer.
Before Sonology, I started as a jazz musician, then I started playing like sort of electronic jazz, and I moved into more electronic stuff. So I thought that it would be a very interesting place to learn about sound very much in depth, to learn about the qualities of waves, about the physics of waves, about how to create your own DSPs.
Here in Sonology, you can study about circuit bending,
and building oscillators and then with different sensors. And that's what I was actually doing. I built my own oscillator with a light-dependent sensor, so it reacts to the light. And then I compose a piece around it.
For me, for example, studying sound programming was a totally new thing. It's like studying a new instrument. It's not that I will be doing only that later, but by studying that instrument, I get into new ideas also.
We are in the analog studio, and the idea behind this studio is to learn a certain kind of workflow, more than techniques. I would call it analog workflow, where you're working with knob, with wires. And actually, Don Buchla, one of the first pioneers of modular synthesizer, mentioned that in his opinion, to use knob and wires to interact with sound, it's the best way to get involved with different aspects of music, with timbre and space, instead of rhythm and pitch.
One of these instruments is the Mellotronica, which is just here. In this case, the Melodica was completely hacked and customized with sensors, which are sending data to a computer in which a software unit processes the information in real time.
Avec des rythmes sont construits avec des rythmes. Elle pourrait être le principe même de l'évolution créative. Elle pourrait être le principe même de l'évolution créative. L'homme aurait un destin poétique. L'homme aurait un destin.
We're given the tools to explore our own ideas. All the teachers have a very developed expertise on their topic, and so you can really take from all these different things.
I think it's a laboratory in a sense, but I think it also gives enough space for projects that are very related to the history of electronic music and electroacoustic music.
From Sonology, it's not a big jump to go to composition. After all, these are two what we call creative departments, where people make new music. Here at the table are Martijn Padding, composer, former head of the department, and Calliope Tsupaki, composer and teacher of the department. But before we move on, we're going to look at something else. We've been talking about research being such an important feature in the Royal Conservatoire, and you cannot think about research if you don't realize you need a place to research sometimes, and that can be a library. Just across the street from Amare is a wonderful library because it combines a historical library, the Netherlands Music Institute, with the library of the Conservatoire and with the library of the city of The Hague. It's a whole floor, the 5th floor, just for music. Have a look. So there was an impression of our impressive library just across the street from Amare. In fact, if you look at the whole square in front of Amare, there's a theater across the street, there's a film house across the street, and then there is the library. So in a way, this is a campus in the middle of the city of The Hague devoted to culture and the arts. Here at the table are two teachers of the composition department. Martijn, your first question is, could you, in a few sentences, characterize the composition department of the Royal Conservatoire?
Yeah, it is probably one of the most liveliest communities in school. It is a very big international department. We have people from all parts of the world, from Africa, from Mexico, from all places of the world. This is very important because apart from our staff of 8 leading Dutch composers who are our teachers, a lot of what is being learned is learned from your peers. That is for us always an important element of how we make the selection of the students. And another important thing is a landmark of the department is the fact that we do team teaching. So each student has 2 teachers, and the curriculum is based upon what we call project learning. So the students are invited to write pieces in the perspective of a certain project. Could be working with an orchestra, could be working with a music theater company, with a famous Dutch ensemble, because we do have a large network of, let's say, the foremost ensembles in our country. And literally every work that is being composed by a student will be performed by such an ensemble.
So these are a number of, I think, rather special character traits. Composition, you know, we think of a composer as an individual working on his own or her own. And in many composition departments across the world, it's a very small group of students that all work individually. And here it's a community. And that, I think, also creates a discussion about what composition is about each other's work. I seem to know, you know, every Monday night there's a chance for students to discuss each other's work. There are collaborations with Sonology and the art science department, many other departments. So in that sense, just the claim that every piece that a student will write is actually going to be performed one way or another.
Yeah, what also is beautiful about this school in general, I think, that often you see, I mean, there's many schools with good composition departments, but often these are located at the end of the hall, and these are the places where the crazy sounds come from. They're the lunatics that are working there. But in this school, in the Royal Conservatory, we have the feeling that our department, so the creative department, is really, it's the center of the school, and that makes the whole vibe completely different.
That's special. Calliope, go to you. You've taught at the school already for quite some years.
Yes.
At some point in that career as a composer as well as a teacher, you've been the national composer of the Netherlands.
Yes.
So that's also lovely. And you're, of course, performed internationally. So you are a composer and also a teacher. How does that connect or disconnect, the two different identities, I would say?
Yes, it's true, but after all, we are all at the process of learning. I mean, when you're a composer, it doesn't matter how old you are, you always learn. And this sharpness in your way of thinking, it's something you can give to your students, because they should never think they know enough. They should develop, they should make the right questions about what they're doing. And so we are stimulating each other. In a way, we're learning from each other. So if I would think I know everything, I would stop teaching. Let's put it that way.
So that, you know, that's the term often used, that we would like to think of ourselves as a learning community, be it a teacher, being a student. Now, you've seen students come and go, clearly. Are there any trends in you know, what kind of students are coming in now, or is it staying roughly the same? If you compare, you know, this year's applications to those of, let's say, 10 years ago?
Well, it's very clear that now we have lots of different, let's say, disciplinary positions in composing. So it's not only we are writing notes in the traditional way, and that's how you're studying composition in The Hague. You can also come with an electronic music piece, you can come with improvisations, you can come with no scores, you can come with being a performer yourself. And in this way, you work a lot with visuals. You even use, let's say, sounds in an artistic way, which is not from the composition of finding notes, but the other way around. So you are conceptual. All these things, they are part of our department, and we are all, let's say, open for this. That's the very important thing to say here, that we, as teachers and the students, we are very much open to take what composition is a step further to 2023.
So,
can I add a little bit to that? Yeah. Because today we have the open day, and again, it's already, you ask for trends, at least 10 years already, young people come to us and say, yeah, well, I would like to become a game composer. I want to become a film composer. So that's interesting. Calliope is right. We're not film composers, we're not game composers. But in the end, any form of composing is about organizing sound. That is what Varese already said. So you talk with these young kids, a lot of them they are not aware anymore of this great historical canon. You can say, well, this is a pity, but this is just life. So it's very important for our department as well that we grow, that we feel, that we keep connection with these people. But it's also important that the message is for any person who comes to us that it is very relevant to understand the basics of sound, and that is very connected, of course, to the certain canon.
So there is the element of skill and discipline, but there's also the realm of freedom.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I have to interrupt and say, and pushing them to the limits. So you want to do game music, Xenakis did game music, but you approach it from a theoretical aspect and they think of computer games or whatever. So you just bring them always in another context.
Yeah, that seems to me also a very important feature. Yes, it's skill-based, but it's also to do with really deep learning and pushing, because the art form of composed music is evolving all the time. And we want to be there where it changes and where the future, is going to be shaped.
Yes.
Be it by students, be it by teachers. So thank you very much. And I'm sure that if you're a budding composer, check out this composition department, because I think exciting things are happening. We're going to learn a little bit more about just one piece that's being composed by one of the students. So I'm going to walk over to her to ask her a question. And thank you very much. The ensemble is already waiting. And there is Anja Zarina. Am I pronouncing this correctly? Yeah. Good, good. Where are you from?
I'm from Latvia.
Latvia. And you are here as an Erasmus exchange student, right? And so you have a background in composing already in the other conservatory you came from?
Yes, this is my third year of studying composition.
And so what is for you the difference between where you came from and where you are today?
Yeah, well, compared to Latvia, this is a lot more international environment, which I greatly appreciate. And there are a lot of opportunities to work on interdisciplinary projects, like in collaboration with the Sonology department. So yeah, I think that mostly.
Yeah. And we're also part of the University of the Arts, which holds a department or a faculty of visual arts and design. Yeah. And I think we're growing to work more and more with them, which for some composers like yourself might also be a very good chance. Now tell me a few things about, or maybe one, the piece we're going to listen to, Silent Spring.
Yes, Silent Spring. I wrote this piece, I was inspired to write this piece after reading a book with the same title by Rachel Carson, who is a very influential environmentalist. And the main focus of this book was basically to reflect on how human actions can have a ripple-like effect on nature in a very destructive way. And she talks about this very poetically and sort of conjures this image of what spring would be like without the voices of birds, if they had all died because of human actions. And yeah, she says that it would be like losing one of our primary senses, which I agree with, and I was very moved by it. So that was the starting point for this piece, and my main goal was to represent these two coexisting entities, one of which being nature and its fragility, and destructive human interference.
Okay. And just a very practical question. How long is the piece going to be?
Around 6 minutes.
Around 6 minutes. We're here in the Conservatory Hall. Where's the camera? Yeah, Conservatory Hall. And we changed it into a studio. So we have departments and ensembles playing one after the other for the whole afternoon. Some people standing upstairs following the show. And so you're going to conduct it yourself? No? We have a wonderful conductor. Oh, you have a conductor? Yeah. Okay. That's Roberto Jimenez. Please come here. Now I'll mention the other ones as well. Miki Barabino at the piano. And Kat van Haverbeke accordion. And Bram van Helvoort marimba. And I miss one. Oh no, Maria de la Calle on the vibraphone. So I hope you're going to play a beautiful music. I know it's beautiful, but now it depends on you to make it beautiful. Thank you very much. That was Anya Zarina's Silent Spring, beautiful piece of the fragility and disruption of nature with an ensemble that from the composition department. From composition we go to another department which is actually based on new music, and it is jazz. At the table with me is Emma Henrik, student, Bart Suer, head of the department, and Milda Matulaitite. Is Emma saying the last name right? I'm going to call you Milda from now on to save myself from making mistakes. But anyway, they're here to have a short introduction to a piece that we're going to hear later on. Bart, you are a relatively new kid on the block. You are the new head of the department of our jazz discipline. So what's up? What's happening?
This is my first year, and the department exists over 40 years, I think, right now. So I'm just jumping in on a great tradition and a high professional department as it is. But as you can understand, that jazz is a ever-changing art form. So a school, professional education, when it comes to jazz, needs to move along with the evolution of jazz. So the new generations of students applying for our school, they bring in new music, new ways of making music, such as recording. Nowadays it's for young people very normal to stay at home making their own recordings, for instance. So all these aspects of making music should be provided as well in this, on an academic level.
Yeah.
So these are the changes I'm witnessing in the outside world and bringing in this great institute, so to speak. So
great. Emma, you are a Master 1 student. Did you follow your bachelor in the same school, or did you come from elsewhere?
No, I came from the United States.
Okay. And so how does it feel being here?
It's really nice. I think that this is a great master program, especially for me. Like, I already had a foundation in jazz, and coming here, there's a lot of opportunities to follow your own path and kind of focus on the things that you'd like to learn about and study more of. And I really appreciate here that there's different weeks that we can focus on kind of learning new skills, and definitely career skills that then I can use to transfer into the world after my degree here.
So there's the famous triangle in the master program for everyone, but it's individual for everyone at the same time.
Right.
Artistic development, reflection, research, and professional preparation. And how does the triangle work for you?
It seems to be working really well. I like that there's an equal emphasis on all of these things, and also that you can kind of adjust them how you'd like. For example, I'm splitting my main subject lessons between voice and also jazz composition. So that goes really well with my master plan, and then for my professional integration as well. I find that it's a really nice balance, but also challenge to do all these things.
Yeah. So you've been here now for one semester, actually, only. Have you noticed any of the other departments in the building? Does it have any effect on your development, that there are sonologists, composition students, what have you? Have you noticed them, or have you been in touch with them?
Yeah, I think especially as a master's student, all of our classes together are with people from all of the departments, so it's been really great to make friends from the other departments and go see concerts that I might not see before, and then also doing different collaborations, like you said, between the departments is special here.
Thank you, and then good luck with your remaining part of your master course. And I'm sure we'll hear more about you even after you leave the school. Milda, you are the coordinator of the department, yes, which means you're the busy bee, the spider in the web, the do-it-all. And so for you, it must be interesting that now you've experienced one head leaving, one head coming. Is there a change noticeable that you find interesting?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see a lot of positive change in terms of, as Bart said, bringing professional world into the school environment. So, in this year we have introduced several project weeks as pilots that are hopefully becoming part of the curriculum in the next years, such as writing camp, so week focusing on composition, as well as recording week, which was really focused on students recording their music. We did 15 recordings in 3 days, and then students were mixing and editing those recordings. So I think that's really, the students are experiencing that as well, that's part of the real career, the real world, and that's great to experience this in the school environment as well.
And it's good to mention that we have also a department called Art of Sound, where sound engineers are being educated, and they're linked to the students. So quite a few of those recordings of jazz students are made by themselves, but they can be coached, and they can also be instructed, but also can be recorded by others of this Art of Sound department, which makes really a hub of recording music. And I think it's, most music in the world now is being consumed or listened to through a medium. And therefore, we're having this television show here today. It's a good example. In a way, we're a production company as well as a conservatoire. And they're not two different things. They're the same thing. And jazz department is going that way, so that's wonderful. We're going to listen to some music. I'm going to walk to the jazz department ensemble. Oh, yes, I just forgot. I just got a sign there. There is a 6-minute, I think, film looking at some of the performances of the jazz department. So let's look and listen to that. You've been listening to and looking at Pablo Cruz Placer on the tenor saxophone, Sejong Park on the piano, Snorri Skulason double bass, and Tristan Guillaume on the drums. And by the names you can already tell, these are people from 4 very different nationalities playing together. That's something that we like at this school, the wonderful jazz department. Now, right next to me is a very special person. You've been seeing me present. Some of you may know me. I must say, I have been almost the principal of this wonderful Royal Conservatoire. There's going to be a new one coming next week. She's sitting right next to me. It's Lies Coleman.
Hi, Henk.
Lies, welcome.
Thank you so much.
This is your very first open day.
Yes, it is.
What are your impressions?
Well, it's a very vibrant and energetic experience. So many faces, so many curiosity. Not just from students and aspiring students, but I think some people just walked in just to see what's happening here. It's very nice to see.
Because in the end, we also, after the school, we will perform for people, audiences. So when they come in already, that's fine.
Yes.
So we already know for some time that you will be the principal of the Royal Conservatoire. I'm very happy with that personally, but I think I'm certainly not the only one. You made a choice to apply for this job. You came from another conservatoire. What were the reasonings in your mind that you can share with us?
Yes, of course. The Hague is not new for me. The Conservatoire is internationally known as a conservatoire that really looks to the future and wants to change not just education for the better, but also the music scene, the dance scene. And this energy is something that's very appealing to me. Yeah. I'm a pianist myself, but I don't like to stay inside the box, but also looking forward to the future, looking outside, what's happening, what's in society, what can we bring inside, what can we bring out. So I'm really looking forward to it, and it's not for every conservatoire that that's happening, and here it is.
And I think you're most welcome. Of course, it'll be impossible to answer a question like, what are you going to be your main points for the future, because you have to find out, don't you?
Yes, I do.
But you'll be coming Wednesday,
yes.
1st of February. What are your first weeks going to look like, you think?
Well, I think I'm going to be lost in the building a lot, because I keep walking in circles, I noticed today. I hope to meet a lot of people and get to know what's happening, get to know who is here. What are the lessons like? What are the people like? And of course, a lot of meetings. My schedule is already booked, and I'm not even here yet, so...
You know, people are also keen to meet you, and I think we're looking ahead at a new chapter of the Conservatoire. Looking forward to the 200th anniversary that hopefully you'll be able to be at the helm of, and I wish you all the love and success of your fellow teachers here, students here, and that it'll be a great success in this next chapter. Thank you. So, that was my successor, Lies Coleman, but at the table here are people from the dance department, so lovely. There is Jasmijn, I see. You're in the Bachelor Dance. First year, second year? Third year? Yeah.
Actually.
And Floris?
Yeah, same as Jasmijn with first year.
So, and you both been also to the School for Young Talent?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've known each other for a long time?
Yeah, we have.
Well, we were in different groups.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we just saw each other, I think,
regularly,
for like 8 years and you 9.
And I'm curious to see how that feels, because you come in the building, maybe, you know, they're quite a young age, still studying secondary school and dancing together. Very busy schedule, of course.
Yeah, for me, it was very, not very serious or something. It was very professional, but for me, it was more like finding out how it worked. And then when I really noticed, I really loved it, then it became way more professional and serious for me.
Yeah. And how's that for you?
Yeah, it was just, at first, something fun to experience, something new to try, and then it kept getting more serious and professional.
Mm-hmm. And of course, one hopes that even though you progress and it becomes more professional, that you keep the fun of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're in the Bachelor, quite a bit of the other stuff, the regular education is falling away.
Yeah.
So to go from one to the other, was that a big jump, or was that something relatively natural?
For me, I really had to adjust. I really noticed that it was way more than we were used to.
Yeah.
So, but after like a few weeks, it was like normal for us, for me.
And you, Yasmin?
Well, I was just really happy that we didn't have any school classes anymore, like Dutch or mathematics, and just focus completely
on the dance. But then, of course, the dance schedule then in the Bachelor, it gets quite heavy. So that's a big jump too, isn't it? Literally.
Yeah.
And you've managed well?
Yeah, I noticed that I'm just, at the end of the day, I feel tired, but like happy with what I've done.
Yeah, and also because now we don't have like school education like in math and Dutch. We don't have homework, so when we are at home, we can like leave school behind and really relax our evening.
Yeah, and of course, part of your program will also be the possibility of an internship somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that something you're already busy with?
Next Friday we have our first audition for an internship at Scapino.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too.
Yeah, it is. So we are everyone is like looking for auditions and internships. So it's quite stressful, but also very fun.
If you had your way, where would you be in 5 years from now?
5 years.
Just dare to dream. That's mine.
I don't really have a specific company in mind.
But you'd like to be a company dancer?
Yes, and something with a mix of both classical and contemporary dance.
Because more and more companies do that.
Yeah.
So that's great. So that if you're able to do that, then your chances of finding companies are big.
Yeah.
And you?
Yeah, for me, I'm very big fan of Zurich Ballet. They have a lot of classical repertoire, but also very contemporary repertoire, the same as Jasmine wants. But so that's I don't see myself there in 5 years, but if I could dream, that would be like the ideal.
There's no promises, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you both have taken part in the program Young Talent Project, which was in the Netherlands Dance Theatre. And have you had satisfactory parts in that program?
Yeah, it was so nice experience to really understand how a piece is made and how really professional people work. So that was a very nice experience.
Because last time around they made choreographies for you, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that it was a choreography specifically made for us.
Yeah.
And that we also had a lot of input in the choreography.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I think that's the future. The dancers will have a dialogue with their choreographers.
Yeah.
And if you learn it already here, you'll be able to do it when you leave.
Yeah, exactly.
So wishing you a lot of success, both of you.
Thank you.
I'm going to Jan Linkens. Jan, you've been at the head of this department now for how many years?
Almost 9.
Almost 9, the time flies.
Yes.
I still remember very clearly when you came.
Yes.
And I think quite a few things have changed.
Yes, they did, because as you said, the role of a dancer has really changed. And we need to prepare these young people for a new role as a professional dancer, and that involves many, many things. Not only that you have to be good in your technique, classical and modern, but you have to be a co-creator, you have to analyze, you have to reflect, you have to understand what the choreographer wants from you, and you have to be part in that creation. And that is something that we try to let them experience by improvisation classes, by bringing choreographers to the school that work with them. And Young Talent is one of those projects that we do for that.
And of course, you are now really articulating the changing identity of the dancer in the professional world. But of course, there's also the training. One has to be well trained.
To be a professional dancer is difficult because, first of all, it takes years to get your body under control. And you have to find out what kind of dance you're suitable for, not specifically what you like, but what you're suitable for, because you can dream, but if you cannot perform it, then it's complicated. So you have to really be with a very open mind, and you have to grab your chances and your choices. So it's tough, but I think if you love this profession, then this is the challenge that you are facing.
So when we look at the history of the School for Young Talent Dance Department, it's the first one of this school, years and years ago, started
right.
by the then artistic director, Sonja Gaskell, who said to the Minister of Culture, the Dutch kids, they don't have any technique. And the minister said, what do you need? She said, a school that starts at 10 years. But I still think today, so many young kids with dance talent, they look at television, they think, I can dance whenever I want to. And they forget it takes a lot of time to train.
It takes a lot of time to train. What I notice is with young kids that actually young kids and parents, they don't know enough yet that there are schools in the Netherlands where you can become a professional dancer if you have a passion. Because for a long time we keep that work that we do with young people a little bit behind closed doors. We always want to show perfection, and it takes long for a dancer to show perfection. So, and I think we should open that process. People should come in, they should see the dedication of a 10-year-old, of a 12-year-old in a class, and then they will understand what it needs to become a professional dancer.
Because there's often the analogy with top sport, where everybody understands it takes training. It often starts a little later than the young dancers here start. Here it starts at 10.
Right.
So that is quite a commitment that both of you have made to become a dancer. And I think that deserves all our respect. And I think in this house we try to foster that talent and indeed to challenge them to work hard. But in the end, as you say, you come home tired, but you're happy. And I think in the end, if you follow this course and you do have the talent and the capabilities physically, you can become a really wonderful dancer. Just a dancer that you can become, not another dancer, just you. And that's the same with every department in the school. You can only be the best version of yourself. And we're trying the very best to make that happen. We have a little film about the dance department because we're in the studio here. I don't think we have the circumstances to mount a choreography and a performance, but you will have a little look. It's about 5 minutes, and it's a performance, or from a performance, of the final year's performances that take place in the big hall here, the dance theater hall, the same hall that the Netherlands Dance Theatre uses for their regular performances. And at the end of the season, our department has a chance to perform in that very hall for everybody who wants to come. It's been full houses, so that was great. And it's quite a challenge for the students. You may have noticed that such a big hall, really the projection you need and the confidence you need, but it's something that went very well. And we're going to look at just a little bit of that very show from last year.
to begin. It's the most, maybe the second most terrifying part. The moment you decided to begin, then
you've decided that it will end.
It's an emotion. I don't know if I want that.
A beginning is final. What if it... What if it doesn't end how I'd hoped? What if I don't want it to end? Then again, maybe I will want it to be happening. Then maybe I will look forward to the end. Is it over yet? Then again...
That was a little part of our final year's performances of the dance department, our beloved dance department, here in Amare in the big hall that usually is used for the dance theatre. Now, at the end of this afternoon, I doubt whether someone has watched it all, but for those who have, you're really a champion. And those who've watched part, thank you very much as well. If you're thinking of applying to the Royal Conservatoire to become one of our new students, go to our website, koncon.nl, koncon.nl. It's also the gateway to the individual departments. If you have any questions, want to find out how to apply, how to auditions. We are choosing the best students, so the sooner you apply, the sooner you'll know whether you are able to come to our next year. And that next year will start for all the new students with a fantastic first week's program called Startup. You get to know each other, you get to know the school, your own department, but also the other departments. You get to go out in the city of The Hague. It's a perfect way to start your studies and get acquainted with where you are, get to know each other, and make friends for the rest of your time here in the Conservatoire. So that is the Startup program. The year after, if you're still here, and of course most of them will be, there's another thing I'd like to talk about, is new playgrounds. It is what students do in their second year's bachelor. They go out in the city and work together with various people from all kinds of backgrounds to make music in society. Now, if you're a foreign student, and many of you might be, you will come to us and you may have questions. How do I pay my fee? How do I find a room in The Hague? What kind of service can I expect? We have a team, international, that will help you come into this school and find out everything you need to be a successful student. So Team International is one to look for if you come from outside the Netherlands. And then finally, I'll show you a trailer. It's about 10 minutes. Every year we make a trailer of the year before. Just some highlights of the KC, the Royal Conservatoire, in the media. Quite a few of those things you see, we've produced ourselves. with the department's electronic workplace and the Art of Sound department that have also made this show today. We're proud to make our own productions. You see some highlights of them. And sometimes also students or recent alumni will appear on national television. We'll show a bit of that as well. So enjoy that last clip. And I hope those of you who think of applying to this conservatoire to see you here with a new principal, but see you here and have a wonderful study here in The Hague.
Yeah, I mean, I probably will stay on just D.
Yeah, this is perfect. Okay. This was super beautiful.
Okay. Finally, we decided to skip one of the repeats.
Who is we?
Me and my teacher.
Me and my violin.
Me and my violin as well.
Okay. We have it, we have it. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, that was perfect.
I find it absolutely an amazing experience. It is, of course, very intense and tiring. I'm so happy that in the year when I'm graduating, I'm actually going to have my own CD, which I hope will help me a little bit in the promoting me as a solo musician and also spreading this beautiful music and who knows, maybe further recordings with other repertoire by this composer. This is something very special for me.
Okay, there is an intonation.
I had this idea of combining Baroque cello and classical cello. And then over the 2 years, I developed an idea that was more clear and concrete on which pieces do I want to play and how do I combine the both instruments.
With energy instead of like in the Bach. So we need immediately.
We have master circles where we meet our fellow students and learn about their projects and ideas and have conversations and give feedback on what they could improve or what we really like in their projects. So that is kind of a very nice dialogue among colleagues.
I knew from the beginning that I wanted to combine music and literature, which were my two areas of expertise. I tried here to, let's say, focus more the theoretical part to the practical side, no? So how could my playing benefit from what I was researching theoretically? The best characteristic of the Royal Conservatory of The Hague is flexibility. If I had to describe it with one word, it would be flexibility, because they adapt to each and every one of us.
And we're doing a project recording several of my concerti for a small ensemble, so soloist and small ensemble, maximum maybe 10 people or so.
What I find really fantastic about this project is that, in a sense, it's all student-led. You have two soloists for these extremely virtuosic concerti, both are students, but also for this recording project, the producer of the recording project is also a student from the Art of Sound department. And I think it's very, very important to give these young musicians and these young sound engineers this opportunity, not just to work on such music at such a level, but to take lead at such a level.
It's a really beautiful moment for students to take a step into perhaps where they want to be, how they want to work, with teachers, choreographers, makers that are a few steps ahead of them, that can give them a scope into what the professional environment could be. It's brilliant to be with these students that actually want and have a lot to learn and have a lot to give. I think that I see so many bright eyes in front of me. I think that's the beauty of it.
I had an idea to record the whole Beethoven work. And so I spoke with Henk van der Meulen, and he said, you know, there is a possibility. We have a sound department and a team, and the student can be part of it. Beethoven, I think I still understand better today than 10 years ago, and better 10 years ago than 20 years ago.
it gives you some hands-on experience with orchestral playing at the highest degree. And it's something that you cannot always get with other students or only at the school. And it's very nice to have this experience brought to us.
You know, I think it's the finest way to really learn and to get that experience. It's such a clever idea to sit next to each other and to, you know, to have almost like one-on-one tuition, almost by doing it, you know, not even with saying. We demonstrate and we copy and we show and we share and all connected to the process of the music making. I think it's absolutely the right way. A very good scheme.